Interested in real estate? How about wealth? Well, they go hand in hand. And here, you'll learn all about it. Welcome to Be the Bank, a podcast where we discuss and debate the topics centered around real estate investing. Your host, Justin Bogard, shares insights into investing in real estate to create real wealth and passive income for you and your family. He'll share stories of real estate investments done right, walk you through the process of owning a real estate note, and most importantly, educate you so you can be the bank. This is Be the Bank, brought to you by American Note Buyers. Now, here's your host, Justin Bogard.
Hey, listener. Welcome back. This is season 6, episode number 7 of the Be the Bank podcast, brought to you by American Note Buyers. And today I have a guest on, Mr. Nathan Turner. He's been in the business for quite a while, a lot longer than I have. And he's actually from Canada. So he's known as the Canadian Note Guy, is kind of what we dubbed him as. So we're going to have some fun conversations today. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up, Nathan?
Hey, how are you?
Well, I'm a little, I don't know what the word is. I don't know if the word is peeved or what, but do you have kids?
I do, 3.
Okay. So I have 2 daughters, 10 and 12. Yeah. And so my youngest one is someone that perpetually just refuses to wear a coat to school. And I'm sure most kids are like this. So today is a colder day than normal. And so it's about, 40 degrees right now, and there's a little bit of wind. And I talked about it this morning because we always check the weather because they want to wear shorts or whatever. And I'm like, look, you're going to have to wear a coat to recess today. Like, you don't have to wear it to school, but you need to have it with you. I go, it's in the coat closet, go get it. And we talk about it. Like, okay. And she's like, I don't really want to. I think I'll be okay. I'm like, listen, you're going to have to get a coat or you're going to be freezing. Yeah. Guess what happens? About a few minutes before we're recording this podcast, I get a call from the school, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what is going on? And it's just her on the phone, and all she says was, can you bring my coat? And I about dropped the phone going, are you kidding me? So yeah, she's like, oh, it's really cold outside. I'm like, I told you. So I was like, I'm sorry, sweetie. I just don't have the ability to get over there and get you a coat. So she's probably just going to hang out inside for recess. Yeah. But anyways, that's how I'm feeling right now. Is a little peeved, I guess, at her.
Kids.
Yeah. So what are your kids? Boys, girls, mix of both?
We got my youngest is boy and then 2 older girls. So they're all teenagers now, 18, 16, 14. And you know what? They're actually pretty good kids. Still, same thing with the coats this morning. It's a little bit colder here. Not a whole lot. -3 Celsius right now. So that's like 28, 29, something like that, Fahrenheit. So, I mean, it's chilly. Okay. Cold enough that you need a coat. Sure enough. No, I'll be fine. No, I'm good. Honestly, kid.
Yeah. Anybody listening on the podcast right now, if your kids do the same thing, go ahead and comment on this. By the way, we are recording this on our YouTube channel, the American Note Buyers YouTube channel, so you can check out the stream of this and check out Nathan's sick little tiger he told me from Korea.
Yeah,
on this wall background there. That art's pretty cool, man.
So the tradition in Korea is you put that opposite of your door so that evil spirits get scared away by the tiger. That's the, I don't know. That's what it's supposed to do.
I'm pretty far away from you right now, and I'm kind of scared looking at it. I must be an evil spirit.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I got to tell you real quick.
Yeah.
So Bogard, it was a shortened version of Beauregard. Uh-huh. So Beauregard, which is a French word. Do you know what that means?
No.
It's actually 2 words. It means good looking. So there you go. Justin, good looking.
I like that. Can you dub me as that note guy, the good looking note guy? I want to have that title. That's awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for being on the show today. Like we've kind of teased before, you do live in Canada. I'm not sure what city you're from. I want to say Calgary, but I don't think that's right.
Yeah, just outside Calgary. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a massive land that I had to get that down to for a guess. Yeah. So I did good. So then, are you a hockey fan?
I don't follow it anymore. I did when I was younger, and then as I get older, I just don't have time. I can't keep up with it. So I watch it. We just actually last week, there was a high school. We've got 2 high schools in town. We're just a small town, and 2 high schools in town, and they do an annual, Cochrane Classic where it's the 2 high school teams. So we went to that, and my daughters were surprised at me at how much I got into it. And they're like, "You don't really watch sports." I'm like, "I know, but I love actually going to live sports. Like I can really get into it. I love just being there in the crowd and everything. And I do like hockey. I just don't watch it on TV.
I get it. I think hockey is a cool sport, kind of like soccer or football, depending on where you're from.
Yeah.
But it's difficult for me to understand what's going on. Number one, it's very fast, and the changing of the players happen very quickly and very often. So it's hard to, and then for me, the puck on TV, I just can't follow it.
Yeah.
So I just have to wait for guys to throw up their sticks so I know there's a goal happening.
Yeah. You get used to it after you watch a little while.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, it does move very quickly.
That's a live event that I really want to go to see a professional hockey game somewhere. I live in Indianapolis area in Indiana, so we don't have a professional team. We have some junior teams.
Yeah.
So professional team would be like Chicago or Columbus, Ohio, or I think Nashville and probably St. Louis, I guess, and Detroit would be the closest one. So it's about 4 to 5 hour drive just to go to a game. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to go one.
It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it if you ever get the chance.
So how long have you been in note investing?
I was introduced to the business back in 2008. I took my first note class and went to my first note conference in 2009. So that was kind of my, getting started. That's when I first was introduced to it and started getting going. And I was blown away. Like, what a cool business. I'd been a landlord before that for a little bit. And I'm like, why do people do this? I like the cash flow, but man, I sure didn't like anything else about it. It was just a lot of work. My property manager was terrible, and I had to, continually check up on him and see what's going on. So I didn't understand it. I didn't know why people actually get into landlording. I thought, man, it's a lot of work for not a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree. I fell on the sword onto a rental when I was trying to flip a house, and it was like, yeah, this is not for me. Can I figure out something else to do? So I was fortunate. In about 2016, so 8 years later than you, is really when I got into note investing kind of full time. So
okay.
What's your favorite thing about note investing? Meaning like a strategy or just the process of it? Like what's your favorite?
Oh boy. Well, so let's see. When I first got started, I was creating notes. So seller financing, creative finance, whatever you want to call it. In Indiana, actually, we did a bunch in Indiana and Ohio. And then went from that to buying non-performing notes. And I really like doing workouts and things and working with borrowers to figure out what their story is and see how we can kind of come up with a solution. Most recently, I've shifted a little bit again, and now I'm buying mostly performing notes, just because I've got a fund now, and it's just so much easier to manage in a fund, having those performing notes, and way more predictable for the investor. They know, a much better timeline of when they're getting paid and how much.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that because I just started my first fund last year. Yeah. And that was my mindset I have is like, man, I don't know if I should be 50-50 with non-performing or what. So we just went all in on performing. And if we happen to get some non-performers, then we'll move forward. But it does make life a lot easier as the fund manager when it's performing. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So just way easier to manage, far more predictable for the investor. And it's a great protection still. So I think it's the way to go right now. And it's an interesting thing because the market shifts. When non-performers were plentiful, then yes, we were definitely doing that. And if that becomes the case again, for sure, I'm happy to shift over and do that again. But for now, I think performing notes really is the way to go.
I agree. I love having you on the show. Let's just have you on every time.
Yeah.
No disagreements here. How long have you had your fund?
Mine's brand new too. We just opened it in June last year. So also pretty. Yeah, still recent capital.
I find it challenging nowadays for raising capital in today's environment. I think before COVID, it seemed like it was a lot easier. to get capital, or at least to find money that was looking for deals. And now it seems like things are a little bit tighter, a little bit harder to get the education now. Do you find that the same for you?
Yeah, it's been tricky. And especially mine's a 506C. I don't know if yours C or B.
It's a B, yeah.
B. With the C, it's a little bit tricky in that I can only take on accredited investors.
Yeah.
So that's been my challenge, is just getting in front of the right people, getting in front of those accredited investors. Once they see it, it's an easy thing to invest in, and it's easy to see how it's secured and all those kind of things. It's just getting in front of that crowd. So that's kind of the continual challenge. We're doing marketing for that. We're going to IRA conferences and dental conferences and things like that, just trying to get in front of people.
What do you think the biggest pushback is for an investor on why they wouldn't want to invest in a passive investment like a fund? Or what do you think their I don't know, restriction or challenge is to move forward with it?
For me, one of the biggest objections is they want to be more active. They're looking for a higher return, and if you want a higher return, you're going to have to be active.
Yeah,
which is fine. I like to be active. That's what I'm doing as well. So I understand that, but that's the challenge. Is they want that higher return, and I totally get it. But the way to do that is to be an active investor. And so that's, or they just want to be an active investor. I want to learn the business. Great. Here's somebody else.
Right. Yeah. You and I are actively in the passive investment business.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So I find the same thing as well. It seems like there is a security blanket with people's retirement account stuff, to where it's really tough for them to make that decision on what's the best way forward. And when they don't know what to do, they just stop and they keep it still. And and I don't think they understand how not moving the money forward, whether it's a very, low cash flowing investment or a riskier investment, they're just really losing opportunity in ways that they can be making money. So I feel like the education out there is so disseminated to where it's really tough for people to understand like what's truth, what's not, just because you have a lot of people that are posing out there when they send out information. And I can see the investing consumer having challenges and hesitations on moving forward with certain individuals. Yeah, because there's so many of us out there, and so many of us doing different things in real estate. Like you and I are investing in notes. We got, apartment syndicators, we got single family guys. We got people raising capital for retail space and commercial stuff. So yeah.
How do you know what's the right thing to invest in? And really the answer is there isn't a best thing. It's so much of it comes down to preference. What do you want to do? And if you like note investing and you think it's really cool, but you just don't have the time or the energy to put into it, do it passively. I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying. And I'll kind of add to it to where it feels like the investor really has to like the investment that the fund is investing in, or type of investments. And then secondly, they really need to like you as the manager. They need to understand like this person knows what they're talking about. They have our best interest in mind as a fund. And I don't think investors realize like we don't really make any money unless we do well in the fund. It's not like we just take the money and we're wealthy now. No, it doesn't work that way at all. It's like we have to perform for us to make good money.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. I don't get paid until they get paid. And in fact, I get paid after they get paid. So it's really
it's a very small monthly payment I get until I can liquidate the fund, right?
Yeah.
So the Diversified Mortgage Expo is kind of your baby now. How long have you been taking this over?
So this is my second year running it. It's the 9th annual for the conference itself, but yeah, just my second year. So it's my wife and I took it over last year. Okay. So Liz, and I got to give a big shout out, Liz and Kimberly. Liz Brimmer Smith and Kimberly Banks Fawcett, they had it before me, and they did such a fantastic job. But they both just decided it just wasn't for them for different reasons. And that's totally fine. But, Liz approached me and asked if I'd be interested in taking it over. Are you kidding me? Like, what an opportunity. Absolutely. So I jumped at that because, like I say, my first note conference was 2009, and I've gone to a whole bunch of conferences since then. And the reason is, and it got to a point where I was going to go to another one, and I'd say to my wife, I don't know, I'm tired. I don't really want to go. Like, is there really a reason for me to go? And she would remind me constantly, listen, every time you come home from any of these conferences you go to, you come home with a new contact or, something, a new vendor or something, somebody that you met or somebody said something that triggered something for you or something like that. And every time our business improves, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Great. All right, fine. And she's been so gracious about just kind of supporting me and leaving the family for the few days that I'm away. But she's right. Every time I go, it's just been an improvement to the business in one way or another. And so I'm a huge believer in conferences. Of course, not just my own, but just in attending anybody's conference I can go to, because it's so valuable just to get out there face to face, shake hands, go to dinner, all those kinds of things. Like, it just makes such a difference.
Yeah, I agree that the networking alone, I think, is the most valuable part next to some of the topics the speakers have. And, I've been in the business for 8 years or so now. You've been in the business 16 plus years now.
Yeah.
And it is cool how you still learn something from somebody else. Be like, oh, that technique is interesting. I didn't realize that. Or, hey, that's a cool metric to, gauge whether you're profitable or not, and looking at it through a different lens. So yeah, it's very valuable, I think, to go to conferences. I don't travel to too many of them just because I try to stay home more. And, but I do travel to 1 or 2 a year, typically, religiously 1 or 2 a year. But outside of that, I don't do a whole lot of them. In my first year in notes, I found myself going to everything. And I was like, wait a minute, like I spent quite a bit of money here going to all these conferences and stuff. I better, reel that back a little bit. Because none of them are close to Indianapolis. So I'm usually having to fly somewhere, then hotel and all that stuff. And COVID hit. And I think the online conferences, it did help, but it wasn't the same.
No, it's really not. Yeah. And again, the online stuff, it's all good. And even this, like, it's good. And it helps to reach a lot of people at once. But man, there's just no substitute for getting face to face with somebody.
So how long does it take to prepare for the next Diversified Mortgage Expo? So I think yours is coming up here at the end of May, early June.
Yeah. May 31st, June 1st down in Nashville. And so last year was the same timing. It was June 2nd and 3rd. And then, so we basically kind of didn't think about it for the summer. We took about a week and just kind of debriefed, made a whole bunch of notes about, what went well, what things we'd want to do better, or at least change or something like that. And so there's, like I say, about a week of that, just kind of debriefing. And then we picked it back up in September.
Oh, wow.
The reason is we had some of our vendors, people that we wanted to come to the conference, they had told us that they do their marketing budgets the last quarter of the previous year. So I'm like, okay, good to know. So we again revamped kind of what we're offering for sponsorships and put that out. I think it was late September, early October, just so we can get into that last quarter for those people that affected. And sure enough, there were several that hadn't been able to come the year before because their budget was already spent. And so then now they are coming, which is fantastic. So
that makes total sense.
Really, we're talking about 9 months out, we start planning it and start doing something about it. And it just, as you get closer, of course, there's different things you got to do. But it's a lot of work, man. There's a lot that goes into it for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. And I know offline you talk about it, you said it's just a lot of fun to do that. And I'm thinking, I'm sure it's fun, like maybe when you're not having to scramble and get all the logistics taken care of for hotel, food, speakers line up. I'm sure after that's done, I bet it is. I bet it's fun. But yeah, I'm sure it's kind of hectic there for a while. So I assume you have help and people that are assisting you with, making decisions and setting up stuff.
Some, but really the bulk of it is just my wife and I.
Okay.
So last year, especially being the first year, man, that was a lot. So we feel like we're seasoned pros now. We've got down pat. And then the other added bonus is this year, my middle daughter is coming out. And so she's 16, so she doesn't have final exams yet or anything like that, grade 11. So she's got a little more bandwidth to come out and help us, whatever. She's, I think her role is going to be to change slides for the next speaker. That's going to be one of her major things, but just a runner in general, which is fantastic. So that's going to be good.
That's awesome. So I know that one of your, I don't know when I say niches, but one of your specific things you try to tell investors, it's a no sales pitch type of conference.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of them are anymore, but definitely it's nice to know up front that you're not going to run into, people that have commission breath. That's what I say.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, and I'm very strict about that. In fact, we had one speaker that wanted to come and when we talked about, what he would talk about, he's like, well, I'm afraid it would come across as pitchy. And so I said, well, thanks for being honest. Then no. So he's going to come and attend, but he won't be speaking just because we want to avoid that at all costs. We're happy to have, people in their business, this is what they do. So they'll talk about what they do, but you'll never hear, conference special only. You'll never hear, under the back of the room. That's just not what we do.
I agree with that. I think that is especially when you're paying, a sizable amount of money to go there for the weekend and stuff, you don't want to feel like somebody's objective is to, kind of shove their opportunity down your throat. Like, okay, you have vendors and exhibitors out here that, that if you want to learn more about what they do and how to benefit from it, absolutely, have that conversation. But I don't like it when people come forward and are just trying to sell on stage and stuff. I'm a person that probably gives away too much information for free. Like we have, endless videos and content on our YouTube channel and, doing this podcast for 6 seasons now and stuff, which I appreciated because when I got in the business, which I'm sure like when you did, there's a ton of people that just gave me a huge amount of their time and knowledge that just handed it down to me. I'm like, my goodness, like I got, gold sitting here. So I'm always trying to pass it forward, but sometimes I feel like I've passed too much forward and don't take a little for myself. So
I totally get that. And then, one of the main questions, anytime you're talking to somebody about notes, I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. So where do you find them? And that's probably the only information that I'm not going to share. But, and it's partly I'm not going to share it, but more than that, honestly, I meet them at conferences. That's the answer. And I know that sounds like, a self-serving kind of a thing, but it's the truth. That's where I meet the people that are selling notes, and that's where those kind of relationships are made.
Yeah, it's like you see that bank down the street over there. Just go in there and go find the manager and ask them to sell you a note. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, good luck with that. If you got $100 million, then they might listen to you. But other than that, no.
Yeah, I totally get that. No, that's cool. So congratulations on taking over the Diversified Mortgage Expo. And like you said, it was, you want to go ahead and plug that again, and then where people can go to get conference tickets and information?
Yeah, diversifiedmortgageexpo.com. That's got all the information. So, and tickets, all that stuff. One thing I'll just mention, that's another kind of thing that we do. So one of the things, I did post about this today actually on social media, but one of the things that I've found is, we all talk about you do business with people you know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. So my aim is to help at least with the first two. Let's get to know and like each other. So one of the things we do is the night before the conference, this is included in your ticket, there's an axe throwing competition.
Ooh, nice.
So we go to the axe throwing place downtown and there's about we're limited to about 50 people that can compete. So if you want to compete, make sure you sign up early. And then you can compete and become the axe throwing champion, the DME axe throwing champion for that year, to be taken down next year, kind of thing.
I think that's worth the price of admission right there, is just to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've seen people do it on social media all the time, but I've never actually done it, but it looks like a lot of fun.
It's a ton of fun, and honestly, nobody's that good at it. And so that makes it fun. And then we can just, have fun together.
So if you hit the wood target at any way, it's like that's a great throw.
Yes, for sure. If it sticks in the wood, congratulations. Awesome. That's good.
You feel like a Viking at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That skill.
Yeah.
So what is it? So you're basically, hopefully, running on, I want to say like, car crews here to get to the Mortgage Expo, or is there a ton of stuff that still needs to be done on your part as logistics for you and your wife to make it happen? Cruise control is what I was trying to say.
Sorry. No, I'm just looking at my list here. This is to follow up tomorrow. I've got to just nail down the rest of my speakers, and I got a few more sponsorships I want to help people get into if they're interested. But other than that, it's pretty scheduled out. We've got this spreadsheet where we look at, 3 months out, do these things, and 2 months out, do these things, and 5 weeks out, do these things, and all that kind of thing. And so we've got that pretty dialed in. So it's just kind of follow the formula, and we keep track of that. My wife and I, obviously, we meet together often on that, and just kind of make sure we're staying on top of it. So she does things, I do things, and split it up and divide and conquer.
So you brought up something about speakers, and it jogged something in my memory that I was going to ask you is, how do you know what are relative or good topics for speakers to come in and talk about on specific subject matter? Because sometimes I think some conferences, they start overlapping with stuff, and it just seems kind of like, okay, that's stuff we already know, or like, how do you organize that?
So it's a combination of things. Now, first of all, I think it would be like questions that I'm asked. So if people are kind of getting started, and what kind of questions do I hear? And then I try to get a speaker or a panel together around that topic. Other things, Dave and I do our podcast, and we have different people come on. So often we have people come on so that we can learn about whatever it is they're speaking about.
Yeah.
So sometimes
that's a good point.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just like stuff that I don't know about yet. And so I'd like to learn. And so same thing, I'll have put together either a speaker or a panel to come and talk about that thing, so we can all learn about it and see how we can improve. And then just, I don't know, again, my wife and I kind of talk about it together and debate and talk. And then I talk to other node investors and say, hey, what do you think? Any specific topics you think we should cover this year? And just kind of gather ideas. And I do that kind of throughout the year. One, for example, I know I was talking with another node investor friend, and one that we had floated, but we're not going to do this year. I think we'll have to wait till next year. Where the title of I think it would be a panel, we'll call it Wild Workouts, and just kind of stories of different workouts that people have done, and how they've done it, and kind of share some stories of different creative things people have come up with on how to make these workouts happen. So
I like the panels
this year, but we'll fit it in next time.
I like the panels, and then there's certain national speakers that I'm not going to name you off the top of my head or anything, but that always finds stuff that's really interesting to me.
Yeah,
like it's usually the attorneys or the people in the self-directed IRA, like the stuff of, because you always hear misinformation. Like you hear this out there, but then you hear the opposite, and just like, what is actually the truth, and what will someone confidently get on stage and say, this is the legal way to do it. This is where. I always like to listen to those. For sure. So like we've got on the legal side, one of my favorite speakers, Jeff Watson, he's coming and he's going to talk to us, and I love listening to him. And just every time I listen, I just feel like I'm learning something. And then we've got, somebody from Mortgage Bankers Association's coming, telling us about, what they see coming down the pipe. And we've got, so many. We're going to do a tech panel, talking about different technologies that are being used today. We've got a guy that I'm using actually for marketing for raising capital. He's going to come speak to us and kind of some tips and tricks on how you get yourself out there and how you get noticed on social media in a non-salesy way. Yeah, just to get yourself known. That's awesome. So all kinds of things. That's tip of the iceberg, but there's all kinds of things we're going to cover. That's cool. Well, you guys need to check out diversifiedmortgageexpo.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And to get all the ticketing information and who's going to be there, assuming the exhibitors and the speakers list is probably already out there. Yeah. With the exception of whatever you're going to add here in the last month or two.
Yeah, we'll keep adding here. Excuse me. Yeah, my part of that is tomorrow. I'm set aside some time so I can kind of finalize a few people that have said, yeah, I think I can make it. So
with him hauling around, give me a yes or no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's go time, baby. Nathan, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. Yeah. Appreciate knowing you in the business and, reciprocating the favor from when I was on your podcast with Dave earlier last year. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun doing that. Encourage you guys to check that out as well. It's, you do that on a weekly basis. Is that right?
Every other week.
Every other week. Okay. It's on Friday.
Yeah. Fridays, noon Eastern. And yeah, every other week, and like I say, we bring on people that either something we don't know about or people that are in business doing something. It's fun. We like it.
And that's on JKP Holdings Facebook group.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Look that up. Check it out. So Nathan, thanks again for being on the show today. This was episode number 7 of season 6 on the Be the Bank podcast. And we will see you guys in the next episode. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Be the Bank. We hope you learned something from today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us. Plus, check out our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Be the Bank and on Instagram at Be the Bank Podcast. Be the Bank is sponsored by American Note Buyers. Thanks again for listening.